Please, if you haven't, go to King Ben's YouTube channel and click on any of those videos that could be beneficial. So tonight we're talking about a dangerous mindset. So this is the type of mindset or attitude that's going to get a lot of people killed. And we know that judgment starts at us. So I want to start at Exodus chapter 16, verse 1. And King Ben, those precepts I text, if you can get those when we get to them, that'll be great. But I'm going to
Con,
read. I'm going to read Exodus chapter 16, verses 1 through 3. And they took and they took their journey from Elam, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elam and Mount Sinai and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to God had we died in the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when he sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full? For ye have brought us into the wilderness to kill the whole assembly with hunger. Okay, so that's the first thing we have to make sure that we check now and as we get closer to this time is complaining. Okay, they were just in the land of Egypt, seeing all the wonders that the Most High was doing for the promises he made to the forefathers and to get them out of bondage. So how quickly they forget, like, oh, the Most High brought us out here just to kill us. Like, no. So complaining is the one thing that you have to check. So, and complaining in a situation like this will definitely get a lot of people killed. The next one is ungratefulness. Okay, this is Numbers chapter 11, verses 4 through 6. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting. And the children of Israel also wept again and said, who shall give us flesh to eat? We remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes. Okay, let's stop right there. Ungratefulness. Okay, this is really key when we read Revelations 18 that says, come out of her, my people. So, you know, you have to start coming out of Babylon physically, like detaching emotionally from this world system. So during this time, as we see here, it was the mixed multitude who influenced the children of Israel. Okay. So the thing is, manna, for one, I mean, it's better than nothing. And the scripture tells you tasted like honey. So ungratefulness, like, I mean, the whole thing with the food supply and the food storage and all this other stuff we cover, I mean, that's just to do your part. Not saying that's going to be the end all be all. It may, but as we covered in other lessons, plenty of times, at some point we're going to have to leave our house. You know, some of us may. I can't speak for every situation, every person, but just my understanding of scripture is at some point we're going to have to leave our houses, and when we do, you can't pack 2 weeks worth of food in your backpacks or your bug out bags, or you're going to push a cart down the street with a bunch of food. It's just not realistic. So whatever the Lord puts along the way, who knows? We might run into someone else's house who's fully stocked, and they left months ago, or they've been dead for weeks. So whatever we get along the way, manna, it's we definitely need to have a grateful heart, and we're going to see what happens for those who were ungrateful. Going down to verse 31, and there went forth a wind from the Lord, and brought quails from the sea, and let them fall by the camp, as it were a day's journey on this side, as it were a day's journey on the other side, round about the camp, as it were 2 cubits high upon the face of the earth. And the people stood up all that day and all that night and all the next day, and they gathered the quails. He gathered them. He that gathered least 10 omers, and they spread them all abroad for themselves round about the camp. And while the flesh was yet between their teeth, and it was chewed, the wrath of the Lord was kindled against the people, and the Lord smote the people with a very great plague. And he called the name of that place, I cannot pronounce this, Karabatha Hathawa, because they were buried, because there they buried the people that lusted. And the people journeyed from that place unto Hazeroth and abode at Hazeroth. So the people that got buried were those that lusted. So you can take Egypt, you can take the slave out of Egypt, but you can't take Egypt out of the slave. So when you start thinking and longing for, the things in Babylon, you're like, yeah, that's the land of my captivity. But I would really love Chick-fil-A. Lord, I thank you that you've provided with this bread, but I would really love this KFC, or Subway, or whatever your thing is here, which as of now in this world system, going to those places is not a bad thing. However, you need to start weaning yourself off of them and eating them less and less. For one, health reasons, and two, when this is cut off, when your access or our access to our luxuries are cut off, it's going to be a lot harder for those who never took the opportunity to stop. And that can go for people who smoke, who have drug addictions, who are alcoholics, because all of that's going to run out. So, with this, you want to make sure that you're not ungrateful. Verse 6 says, but now our soul is dried away. There's nothing at all besides this manna. So for one, your soul's not dried away. You're not dying. And you say there's nothing at all besides this manna. Well, this manna is better than nothing, And so, the thing is, you're about to go, you're going towards the promised land. You're going towards the land of milk and honey. Be patient. So where you have complaining and ungratefulness, judgment's going to come fairly quickly. King Ben, is there something you wanted to add on this point?
La.
Okay. The next one is this is Second Peter. The next one is scoffing. So I covered a scripture for complaining, ungratefulness, and scoffing. So this next one is scoffing. This is Second Peter chapter 3, verse 3. Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers walking after their own lust, and saying, where is this promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continued as they were from the beginning of the creation. Okay. So as in the days of Noah, we've been going through this again. You see scoffers talking about, yeah, America's Babylon. Yeah, you guys talking about World War III. Yeah. You guys talking about the mark of the beast. Yeah, So people who are scoffing during this time, it's going to take it's going to take the Spirit of the Lord to open their eyes to see what's really going on before it's too late. So let's move on. Verse 5. For this they were willingly are ignorant. For this they willingly are ignorant of that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that was, being overflowed with water, perished. So the days of Noah. Now this verse 5 is very key. For this they willingly are ignorant. Okay. So it's, I mean, yeah, the Most High, will have mercy on those he will have mercy on. But a lot of our people, we know our family, they're willingly are ignorant. When I first came into the truth, I had a, I want to say, I had a decent position at the church I was at. I mean, I taught a few classes and whatever. But when I came into the truth, I was before we left the church, I was texting people who were in the church, like, hey, I came across, the Lord opened my eyes that we're the real Hebrews. This is what I found. I was sending videos. It was like kind of like a big text group that we had. It's probably like 15, 20 people. And when I left the church, the pastor, she found, I talked to the pastor about it. She was a female pastor. She didn't want to hear it. One of the guys who left the church before me, he ended up joining, he found out, or the Lord opened his eyes to the truth, and he joined a camp. And, I didn't know what happened to him. I just, he just stopped coming. So I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything what happened. But when I left, most people were just like, oh, okay. Like when I told them that me and my wife, we're no longer attending the church. They're just like, oh, okay, that's crazy. I had two people, well, one person asked me why, and I explained to him about the truth, and he was like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. And then another guy, he said, wait, I explained to him the truth, and he said, wait, show me. So we went through the scriptures, and he found out, I ministered to him that, he's one of the sons of Jacob. So the point is, like, for this, they are willingly ignorant. Only one person said, show me where you're getting this from the Bible. And everyone else was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So in the last days, you're going to have scoffers. And for this, they are willingly ignorant. Okay. Verse 6, whereby the world that was being overflowed with water perish, but the heaven and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and the perdition of ungodly men. So scoffing, a lot of us, we're in this truth now. Yeah, there are some Hebrew brothers who say, preparing is, it's a sin. You're showing a lack of faith by preparing, as in the days of Noah, which makes no sense. But scoffing. So the same, we covered the parable with the 10 virgins. 5 brought, oil for their lamps. The 5 wise, the 5 foolish brought nothing. They were willingly ignorant and then expected the 5 wise to give them some. Okay. Brother Dominique did a class just a couple of hours ago about charity. And one of the brothers asked, during Jacob's trouble, do we share? And, he brought some precepts that answer the brother's question. One was Sirach 12, which is a good one. Now, with that, should you share? I can't tell you yay or nay. I mean, there's a million. That's a broad question. That's a that's a very broad question. So I'm just going to give you the precepts. This is Sirach 12, start at verse 1. When thou wilt do good, know to whom thou doest, so shalt thou be thanked for thy benefits. Do good to the godly man, and thou shalt find a recompense. And if not from him, yet from the Most High. There can no good come to him that is always occupied in evil, nor to him that getteth in alms. Give to the godly man, and help not the sinner. Verse 5. Do well unto him that is lowly, but give not to the ungodly. Hold back thy bread, and give it not unto him, lest he overmaster thee thereby, for else thou shalt receive twice as much evil for all the good that thou shalt have done unto him. Okay, so hopefully that answers some questions. And with that, during this time, specifically Jacob's trouble, there's going to be a lot of people. Let me just show it to you. Let's go to this precept. This is Second Ezra. Second Ezra chapter 15 and verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So during this time, during this specific time, Jacob's trouble, it's going to be very evident who should you help and who's trying to help you. Because that spirit, like the only reason why America is, when I say, I guess the veil has been taken off is because we have bread. There was this thing called bread and circus. Some of you may have heard of that. It's an old concept from the Roman Empire. So you give the people bread, just enough bread to be satisfied, and circus. You give them entertainment, and they'll never revolt. So bread and circus. As long as we have our, our amenities and our fast food, and then we can go home and watch whatever TV show we watch. The reason why society has not completely gone off the edge. But King Ben, something you want to add?
Yeah, I got one precept on that.
Sure.
Salakia, bear with me.
Okay.
This is the book of Tobit, chapter 4 and 17. It says, "Pour out thy bread on the burial of the just, but give nothing to the wicked." So you should never be giving your spoils to Edomites or other nations. If you want to help out an Israelite, that's all well and good, but you should never be trying to help the wicked. I mean, the best thing you could help them by doing is telling them this is the last of their kingdom. I mean, that's the best you could do. Tell them you know, hey, you know, enjoy themselves while they can. That's the good passing advice you can give to them. But other than that, you shouldn't be trying to do anything to and especially in these times. I got one more. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 12 and 5. I think you did. You bring this one out?
I'm sorry, say it again. I just got a
Did you
call.
bring out
Say it again.
Ecclesiasticus 12 and 5?
Yeah, I just did.
I think you did. Okay, I think I got one more. Hold on. One more right here. It says, this is a book of Psalms, chapter 59 and 5. Thou therefore, O Lord, Yahweh of hosts, and Yahweh of Israel, awake and visit all the heathens. Be not merciful to any wicked transgressors. So the Most High, that was David. David, we don't care nothing about the wicked. So in our times, we waiting for their suffering. So if you see them begging bread in those times, even Tobit said we should only be given to our people. At the feast day, he told his son to go out and search for an Israelite, no one of these other nations. So we should not be giving our bread, especially in the hard times, to the wicked. So on that, I yield.
And with that, I mean, reading those precepts and especially Second Ezra 15:19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. This won't be like the movies. It won't be like I pull my gun on King Ben and he pulls his gun on me and we're talking and we slowly put our gun down. I see his fringe. No, that's not going to happen. I mean, just using that as an example. Like, if they think, especially someone who's not of Israel, like Israel, if they think you have something that they could use, they could eat, they could want, they're going to try to take it. That's just, I mean, so says the scripture. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. So, but yeah, so with that, scoffing, and the reason, why he's invading someone's house for lack of bread is because he was scoffing the whole time. That's, so scoffing is going to get a lot of people killed. We covered complaining, ungratefulness, scoffing, and next is lack of faith. This one is Sirach. King Ben, do you have that one? Sirach chapter 2, verse 10. I got it real quick. This is the book of Sirach chapter 2, verse 10. Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? For the Lord is full of compassion and mercy and long suffering and very pitiful and forgiveth sins and saves in the time of affliction. Woe be to the fearful hearts and the faint hands and the sinner that goes two ways. Okay, so here's a warning. Like, look at the Most High's track record. Now, destruction to those who are fearful hearts and faint hands, and the sinner that goes two ways. Verse 13. Woe unto him that is faint hearted, for he believes not. Therefore shall he not be defended. Okay, so your lack of faith is going to cause, I won't say you, but those who have a lack of faith, that is going to cause them to get cut off. So it says again, woe unto him that is faint hearted, for he believes not. Therefore he shall not be defended. So you can, I mean, if you aren't faint hearted and you believe, you will be defended. Woe unto him that has lost patience. What shall he do when the Lord shall visit you? So we covered that in the first one, Exodus chapter 16, verses 1 through 3, that they were complaining. Like, oh, Lord, you brought us out here to die. Woe unto those who have lost patience. So during this time, you have to look at the Most High's track record. You cannot be fearful hearted and faint hands. You cannot be, you cannot have a lack of faith or unbelief. Okay. So again, we covered this in past lessons. So how do we combat this? Now you have to combat your fears with the word. So for instance, someone was saying, I remember I was talking to someone about this, and she was worried about getting attacked and all this stuff, and I was like, she's in the truth. She's been in the truth for a while, but I'm thinking like, why are you thinking like that? Like, instead of thinking what's going to happen to you, think about what are you going to do to them. This is Psalms 118. Start at verse 6. This is Psalms 118, verse 6. The Lord is on my side. I will not fear. What can man do unto me? The Lord has taken my part with them that helped me. Therefore I shall see my desire upon my enemies. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in princes. All nations compass me about, but in the name of the Lord I will destroy them. They compass me about, yea, they compass me about, but in the name of the Lord I will destroy them. They compass me about like bees. They are quenched as the fire of thorns, but in the name of the Lord I will destroy them. So again, if you're fearful and faint-hearted, you have to put these words like in your heart. So for you to be able to quote them, the same way a lot of brothers can pull precepts and quote this word, you have to put these types of words in your heart. So when you are compassed about with all nations, you're not worried about what they're going to do to you. I mean, you're not worried about what they're going to do to you. You are more concerned about what you're going to do to them. Because in the name of the Lord, I will destroy them. Okay? So, that lack of faith is going to get a lot of people cut off. That is a very dangerous mindset. Another scripture, this is Numbers chapter 14, verses 1 through 4. And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron, and the whole congregation said unto them, would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God that we have died in this wilderness? And wherefore hath the Lord brought us unto this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return unto Egypt? And they said one to another, let us make a captain, and let us return into Egypt. I mean, again, that's another prime example of the lack of faith. And we saw what happened to those who, didn't believe in the wilderness. Brother Ben, do you have that Revelations 21 and 8? Okay, he's probably tied up. This is Revelations chapter 21, verse 8. But the fearful and unbelieving, and the abominable, and the murderers, and the whoremongers, and the sorcerers, and the idolaters, and the liars shall have their part in the lake, which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. So you see, the fearful and the unbelieving, they're in the same category as the murderers, the whores, the witchcrafters, the sorcerers, the idolaters, and the liars. So again, this is just another example of how a lack of faith and unbelief and fear will cause will cause us to get cut off. Because Hebrews 11 and 6, but without faith is it impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Okay? So that's, again, there's a million precepts on lack of faith and a million precepts on how to strengthen and bolster your faith. We just wanted to give out a couple, but this is, let's do a quick recap. So we have complaining, ungratefulness, scoffing, lack of faith, fearful, and unbelieving. Those that type of mindset or that type of spirit will cause you to get caught off when we go into, when Jacob's trouble, hits full force. Okay, now when I mean full force, I'm talking about grocery stores are empty. There's no more trucks coming in. Everyone's experiencing rolling blackouts, or the power may be off. You're having Russia, China, Iran on American soil. And it's literally, it's every man for himself. So that type of mindset, that fearful, unbelieving, scoffing, complaining, that will cause a lot of us to get cut off. So we have to really, and that's the thing now, you practice how you perform. So those fears and everything that we have now, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like when I first learned about, I kind of knew about Jacob's trouble, but once I knew that the rapture before the tribulation was false, I had anxiety too. I mean, start freaking out and all this stuff, and then start learning precepts and like what does the Word of God say to the about the remnant of Jacob. So it's going to be a difficult time, but the thing is, we have to get in this Word, learn these precepts, fast and pray. And that's the thing with also we covered with the food storage. Make fasting a part of make it more of a routine. So not saying you have to fast every day or once a week, but whatever your routine is, make it a routine to when okay, this week or this day I'm fasting. And so you're not going to die if you never fast before. Highly recommend it. Is there anything you brothers want to add?
Yeah, Salak, I just wanted to lay me back off of what you just said about the Lord defending us. So I wanted to bring out Zechariah 12 and 8. So that reads, "In that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of the Lord before them." So we know that the Lord will defend us during those days. We just have to stay faithful, keep the law, statutes, and commandments. So I just wanted to bring that out just to land me back real quick. Salakia for being late. My bad.
Nah, man, you good. I understand. And here's another one. This is Micah chapter 5, verse 8. And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles, in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who, if he goes through, both treads down and tears in pieces, and none can deliver. Okay. Thine hand, verse 9, shall be lifted upon thy adversaries, and all thine enemies shall be cut off. Verse 15, and I will execute vengeance in anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard. Okay. So again, if you have faith, you believe what the scripture says, we're going to be taken care of. Is now taken care of. That's one thing I have to, I guess, manage expectations, or taken care of is your current comfort of living will be different. Okay, I can't. I have to say that. Like, you're not as paratroopers are coming down. Cities are getting raided. You're not going to be at home watching watching your favorite TV show in comfort. That's it's just not realistic as a anywhere in scripture you see that. But and we covered that in Second Ezra 16, because it is a physical it's a literal commandment for us to prepare for battle. So this is Second Ezra 16 verse 40. O my people, hear my word. Make make you ready to thy battle, and in those evils even be as pilgrims upon the earth. So again, that's a commandment. If you're scoffing, yeah, I ain't gotta do nothing. The Lord's gonna come down and just destroy everybody. While you're ignoring this commandment for you to make ready. And he tells you to be as pilgrims upon the earth. Pilgrims move from place to place. Okay. This is why we went into the bug out bag. This is why we went into all the other stuff like the skills, the tent making, the water, which we're going to go into in more detail. But yeah, you gotta, you gotta have faith, and you gotta like do what the Lord says. Make you ready to thy battle. So now from a we covered this from a spiritual standpoint, the scoffing, the complaining, the fearful, the types of mindset that'll get you cut off. So from a secular standpoint, we're going to cover the types of mindsets that are going to get people killed. This is number one. This I hear this all the time when I tell people like, "Oh, you should prepare," and they're like, "Yeah." This is what they say: "I'll just hunt and live off the land." Like this is this is where like this is where their problems are going to begin. Okay, so loads of other people might have this same idea. Now, unless you live hundreds of miles from civilization, the population of deer and wild turkey will be quickly decimated in an event that renders food delivery systems inoperable. Furthermore, hunting is not easy as simply wandering into the woods, taking aim with a rifle, and popping a deer in the head. Questions I ask them typically, and they just get quiet and, shrug off. Have you ever hunted before? Have you done so recently? Have you field dressed an animal? Can you hit a moving target? Do you know how to set up snares? Do you know how to butcher and preserve the meat? Are you in good enough shape to drag a 200-pound deer back to your camp? The answer is almost always no. So my cousin, I said this story before. I mean, he hunts often, but the thing is, when he doesn't catch anything, he just goes home and goes back to his house. But that situation is completely different than knowing you can't go back home, and this is the only option you have. And the problem with this mindset is, again, if you've never done it before, it is not easy. And you and everyone else is going to have the same idea, going into the woods, making a bunch of noise, scaring off the animals. And heaven forbid, this is when things are really going to get crazy. Someone catches an animal and they're dragging their 200-pound deer back to their camp, and someone sees that. You're going to have, there you go. Now you got more problems. So that that word just, I'll just hunt, that word just is a very dangerous word for the unprepared. So, I don't need to, I don't need to store food. I'll just go to the store. Like, okay, yeah, you and everyone else is having that same type of mindset. And this is where we saw, fights at the grocery store when the pandemic first started. Now, and you see fights at, Black Friday, not so much now, but, in the past years, fights over junk that we do not need, that we cannot afford. And you're telling me when you hear on the news that, so and so's this city is getting invaded, everyone's going to rush to the store and you're just going to grab some food, or you're going to grab your gun and go to the woods and go hunt. That type of mindset is going to get a lot of people killed. Another one I hear is I'll just go into the woods and live there. Now, this is just as bad as number one. Living in the wilderness is not going to be a marshmallow roast. It was not going to be a marshmallow roast. First off, there's no marshmallows out there. Just lots of predators and food that has to be killed and skinned before you can eat it. In this strategy, people like to talk about their proximities to a national forest. Now, we talked about this in a past lessons, as far as like, if you were to go to a camping ground, chances are other people are going to be there too. So you and whoever's with you will need to, have a plan to how long you're going to stay, who's going to keep watch, things like that. Okay. Now, but here's the thing with I'll just go live in the woods. When is the last time you went into the forest and walked more than a few miles on foot? Did you spend a couple of nights there? How's the weather? What are the local predators in that area? Do you have a camping kit that you can carry on foot? Will your children and your spouse be able to carry supplies? Are you planning to build a house with some traps and a Swiss Army knife? What will you have to eat and drink? Now, I'm not talking about us because we know the Lord is going to provide. However, this is some things that we could think about because people have this like, that this type of strategy is more of the scoffers. Like, I don't want to deal with that. When the time comes, I'll just take care of it. And, people are going to be shit out of luck. Another one is very common is, this is one is very common. I don't need to store food. I'll just take everyone else's because I'm a badass. Now, we're going to cover this in a future lesson of the type of people to avoid. I mean, and the people, for me initially, if you're not from the house of Israel, that's that's where we starting. But some people, like I've talked to coworkers and I got some family members like this, like they have the attitude that I'm just going to take my bags of guns and go rob other people who may have food. Again, how many people are have this same attitude as you? Okay, and you walking in the apocalypse with a bag of guns is just going to make you a target. So yeah, this is in this mindset right here. I don't need to store food. I'll just take everyone else's because I got guns. This is a very common one that I hear when I talk to people about this, and I just make a mental note. I try to talk to them about the word and Jacob's trouble and why you should at least have a plan to store food. But if I see they're not listening, then I definitely stop talking to them about it because, you know, when this goes down, my house will probably be on their list, or they don't know where I live, but my name will probably be on their list. And as far as people, who should I visit? Okay. Here's another one. I have lots of weapons and tools and gear. I have the best shoes. I have the most rugged bug out bag, but I've never used them, but I have them. Okay. This is another terrible mindset to have. Do you have prepper tools that are still in the box? How often do you go out to the shooting range? When's the last time you had to actually use your hatchet or your saw? There are loads of different examples that we could give that what people's tools are just sitting in the box, waiting for their moment of glory when everything goes to hell. Now, for this purpose, you want to start using that stuff that you buy because what's going to happen is you're going to buy something, you're going to put it in your bag, you're going to forget it's there, and then maybe 6 months or 8 months later, you're going to see a video on YouTube or someone else talk about that specific item, and you're going to forget you have it, and you're going to buy it again, and till you realize, oh, I already have it deep in my bug out bag, or it's deep in my closet, and I just bought another item that I'm still not using yet. Okay. And I talked about this with the shoes. So we talked about, for, you want a good pair of comfortable, hiking, walking shoes because trying to, walk the apocalypse with, Jordans and shoes that are not designed for long walks is going to be very painful on your feet. Now, with that is, blisters will be a common problem for those who are unprepared and who are going to have to walk. So having those shoes in its box and you never broke them in and you never wore them, at least, a couple of times that's also going to cause blisters. So you want to get into habit of at least, using your stuff, when a situation arises, at least try to use it because the thing is, you're going to learn a lot more about it when you start using it. So, for instance, I had a ferro rod, which is just it's a little metal stick that you use to create a spark. And when I bought it, I started using it and it wasn't working, like it wasn't creating a spark. And so I just YouTubed how to use a ferro rod, and there's some Edomite. He had a video, went through. It was like literally 5 minutes, and in that video he said, when you first get your ferro rod, you want to scrape off that black paint because that paint is anti-corrosive, so the ferro rod doesn't get damaged or rusted or whatever. So you want to scrape off that paint because it won't spark unless you scrape off the paint. Now, here's the thing. Once I scraped off the paint on mine, then I started getting a spark. So here's the thing. If I would have kept that in my bag and then, all hell, breaks loose and I say, hey, I have a ferro rod and I'm sitting there in the cold trying to spark a fire and the thing's not working and I don't know why, then, you can see how this is going to cause a lot of frustration in an already stressed environment. Okay. So, whatever you bought or whatever you have, just play with it, or at least have it out while looking at a YouTube video on how to use it. If you're comfortable with the equipment you have or the things you're going to get, there's no need to do it, but at least you've got some comfort with it. This is another common one. I don't need to store food. I have tons and tons of seeds. Okay. And we talked about this last week. Yeah. Growing a garden is not easy. So it's not hard neither, but it does take practice. So your food, your garden should be supplemental to your food storage. Okay. Now, unless you have a robust, rotating crop garden to where it's enough to feed you and your family, then that's fine. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about those who romanticize the idea of gardening during the apocalypse. It's just not realistic. Like I said last week, I've had some really good harvests, and some really bad ones, and I've learned a little bit each season to say, oh, okay, for the next year to be better. So, and with that, you'll focus on where to grow, which crops grow best in your area, things like that, the growing zones. I'm here in Houston. There's some things we just can't grow. We can try, but it's just not worth it. Some things grow really well here. And so, but all of that is supplemental to my food storage. Okay. It's not my primary source. Now, if the Lord blesses that garden and it, grows tenfold, hundredfold, all praises. We'll eat every bit of it. But having this idea of, I don't need to store food, I just have a tons of seeds, and thinking you're just going to throw the seeds in the ground and you're going to have, 60 pounds of potatoes in 6 weeks, it's not realistic. So, this one is a very common one. Like, the thing is, all these are common. This is the thing, like when you start talking to people about this stuff, this is the type of stuff you'll hear. I'll just run a generator and continue like nothing ever happened. The problem with generators we covered in the power outage episode. Again, generators are loud, they're smelly, you need gas. So again, if you're the only one in your neighborhood running a generator, that's just going to make you a target. Okay. So, yeah. Now, my friend, he bought this very, very expensive generator. It's not the type where you put gas in. It's hooked up to the main line. So if you have a propane, so it literally just clicks on, and and the thing is, like, well, he's Indian, so in their neighborhood, everyone is in, like, in the neighborhood he live in, everyone is Indian. he's friends with the president of the homeowner association. So he was telling him like, "Hey, I'm getting this generator. Is it approved by the homeowner association?" And the homeowner association said, "Yeah, it's approved, fine, whatever. You can get it." And the thing is, he told them, he's like, this is before the Texas winter storm. He got it like in September of last year. He told them, he's like, guys, you guys should get it. They still have some supplies left before they're going to have shortages. You guys should get it now. They laughed at him. They scoffed him, say we don't need it. Blah blah blah. He gets it in September. They have a few power outages in this area. It turns on. It works perfectly. Then comes, February here in Texas, where the whole state decided, the Most High decided to freeze this place, and the power company said we're not paying for that. We turn off the power. Now, his generator kicked on, and he had heat, he had electricity, he had his life went on as just as nothing happened. Now, the problem with that is, again, everyone in the neighborhood knew that he had that generator, and the humming was very low. I mean, it makes some noise, but it's very low. It's not like your this typical generator that you would get at like Lowe's or whatever. So the humming was low, but again, if you're in a neighborhood with the power's completely out, any noise is going to draw attention. So the word quickly got out that my friend John has a generator. And luckily, the power came back on before people, wanted to pay him a visit. So, with that, generators are very loud. They're very, it's just, it'd be better not to have a gas generator. If you want to get a solar generator, that could be an option. I would do some research on that. We covered that in past lessons. So, but just that mindset of I'll just hook up a generator and continue with life, it's a very bad mindset. King Ben, is something you want to add, or Mike?
Yeah, I was just saying that generators in the hood, especially, they walk away. So unless you
Con,
planning to with a shotgun or a rifle throughout the night, you know, it's very you got to really stand by it, and everybody in the neighborhood is going to know you have it. So that's going to be number one target is your generator. So it's something that we the first thing we want to go out and get, but unless you're gonna have private security, it with the generator, yeah, it might not be. It might just have you just have to watch it. That's all I'll say. You have to use wisdom in doing those things because it's not as easy as it sounds.
con. And one story here when we had Hurricane, I think Ike, there was a neighbor. He had a generator, and it was running. He had the AC on and the fans on the generator. He had plenty of gas and everything. And he was telling the story. He said, he was asleep. The house was cooled. Now this was in the summer when Ike came. He said the house was cool, but then all of a sudden he started sweating. And he in his sleep he can hear the generator humming or whatever. He said, but he just started sweating and he woke up and the fans are off, the power's out, and he's like, what the heck's going on? But he can hear the humming outside. So he goes outside to the check on the generator. Someone stole his generator and started a lawnmower and just wrapped an extension cord around it so it could stay on. So stuff like that, yeah, it's definitely, someone will definitely, take what you have in that type of situation. So you got to use wisdom, but having the mindset of, oh, I got a generator, I'll just plug it in and don't worry about it. That's going to be, you're just setting yourself up for failure. Okay. This one is a very common one in Texas that a lot of people found out the hard way. I'll just use my fireplace for cooking and heating. Okay, so I don't know if anyone has actually tried to start a fireplace or try to start a fire without using accelerant, just using without using the gas or the lighter fluid. But I mean, it's not as easy as it looks, and it's not as easy as the movies make it seem. And so and you will need quite a bit of wood to keep the house warm and for cooking. So to so again, the reasons why these are very dangerous is because these mindsets that we're talking about is because now that we're going through we're talking about them, we're going over them. you can say like, oh yeah, I can see how that could be a problem. Yeah, I probably should work on that, or yeah, I think I need to change that approach. But while you're physically in this situation in a stressed environment, like the it can't be emphasized enough that how much more difficult these normal tasks will be in an environment like this. Now, when I say stressful, I'm talking. I mean the environment. We should not be under stress because we're going to have the peace that transcends all understanding, knowing what the word says about what's going on, because that's going to be the major thing that's going to happen with a lot of people, and we're going to get to that in the other one is well, we can get to it now. But for the fireplace thing, if you've never tried it before, I would definitely suggest trying it. Just try it once, and you'll see how difficult it is. And to keep the fire going, to keep the and then get a fire going good enough to where you're able to cook and retain heat. So again, these are people who are saying, "Oh, I'll just use my fireplace," when they never chopped wood before. They if they chopped wood, the wood is not dry. It's the wrong wood. The house is definitely smoking up. So it's just a lot of things that little things. No, those things are small. Once you start doing it, and getting a rhythm and saying, "Oh, okay, yeah, I know how to start a fire." Consistently. So some people bought they buy if they're more depending on your house, a wood oven stove. Um, you know that could be an option. Those things are heavy, and they're some cities are have regulations against them because they require people to really work on or knowing how to start a fire, which could again start a fire. So um, you know the whole fireplace thing again, it sounds romantic, but again, if you've never done it before, it is going to be extremely difficult in a stressed out environment. Now, which goes into the next one. I got my supplies. I don't need to think about the gloom and doom. Now, some people, again, this is a common problem. Some people, they stock up on their goods, they forget about preparedness, and then they don't want to consider the possibilities that they might actually have to use it. Now, for us, for knowing that the times that we're in and the times that are approaching, being mentally prepared for disasters is a very important step. Now, the mind, I mean, the body cannot go where the mind has not gone. So, again, some people, the scoffers mostly, are going to be sitting on their couch or in traffic on the way to work. And then when this hits, you know, they're just going to lose it. Like, the thing is, if I was listening to some, it was like this intro to a podcast about this Marine. He said if you're not trained for that situation, you're going to go into it like a child. It doesn't matter if you're a grown man. It doesn't matter if you're a woman. If you doesn't like the mentality you're going to have is it's going to be that of a child. So when you're in a scared situation or you're in a stressful situation, people freeze up, they lash out, because they don't know what to do. This is outside of their normal routine. And as Americans, we have been very herded like cattle to have a routine. You get up, go to work, get your money, pay your taxes, pay your bills, die, and in between, and you have some little moments of entertainment and things like that. So it's very routine life, but in a situation like this, it will be nothing but routine. Okay, so people, so that's the thing with some people, they think like, oh, just because I went online, I got the 25-year supply of noodles from that company that I never heard of before, food that I've never tried, and it's in the back of the closet. Therefore, leave me alone. But not being mentally prepared. I mean, again, for us, we are in the scriptures. We discuss. There's lots of brothers that discuss prophecy. We discuss the milk to make sure that we are following the law, statutes, and commandments. That we're getting out that leaven. I mean, that's definitely an ongoing process for all of us. So when this time comes, for us, a lot of children of Israel will be praising the Lord that Babylon is being judged. Now, while everyone else is going to be running around screaming and going crazy. Okay. So having that mindset of I'll deal with it when the time comes is just going to add a ton of stress on a already stressful situation. And that's the thing with this country particularly. As a nation, we really haven't been through much. You'll have some fires in California, you'll have some floods in Florida, you'll have something going on in New York. It's more regional, but on when this goes down as the way the Bible describes it for Babylon, it will be in every city, in every place there will be, trouble. So it won't be, and that's the thing. Someone said when we were talking about, me and my wife, we were talking about whether or not you should help people or things like that. And, we were watching some movies or whatever. And I was like, this is just not, it's just not realistic. And, the thing is like, while you and like one of the backing up what led that discussion with my wife, I saw this guy on Twitter was saying, hey, all the preppers are mad because they see people helping each other, they see people giving each other a helping hand. This was right at the start of the pandemic, and I was sitting there thinking like the only reason that is going on is because people still have hope. There's still food on the shelves. There's still lights. There's still electricity. There's still internet. There's still AC and heat. All those amenities are still in place, which is why, as long as I have this, I have hope. Some people think like some people think like that. So, but the problem is, you know, when it's every city having the same problem, every state is invaded, it's going to people are going to quickly lose hope. And then that's when a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, because that hope is gone. Like their hope in Babylon is gone out the door. And once that sets in, which in this country, because it's so incubated and pacified, I think it's going to be very quickly. Like when things go off the rails, they're going to go off very quickly in terms of people losing hope, and all of these fantasies that people have will be shattered. The scoffers will be silent. You know, this thing is is about to be a powder keg in a country that has over 100 million people have guns legally. There are in this country there are 100 million legally registered gun owners. Okay, again, that's legal. We're not talking about illegal. And then you have 125 million people who are on prescription drugs for mental illnesses, anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, Tourette's. 125 million people in this country. Okay. Followed by, when I went to the guns, followed by over 1 billion rounds of ammunition sold annually. So again, this is going to be a disaster when when the hope of Babylon is gone. No one will have pity on their neighbors. Not saying like we won't, but the thing is, we know how to operate giving the scriptures. We will know the mindset we need to be in, which is why you should start getting in that mindset now. So, because Esau's already in that mindset. I mean, they already see us less than nothing. They already see us as less than their pets. So they already see us in that mindset. Now, when that rule of law, when that, you can't call 911, when all that goes away, yeah, it's going to be exponentially worse. So for a lot of our people who are scoffing, they're going to be the main ones getting caught up in this. So I mean, again, you're going to have that you're going to have troops on the ground. You're going to have power outages. It's so again, just a quick recap before I move on to the next section and about water storage. I'll just do a quick recap for us in the spirit. Complaining, ungratefulness. For the one about complaining, that was Exodus 16, 1 through 3. For ungratefulness, that was Numbers 11, 4 through 6. And then 31 through 35. Scoffing, That was Second Peter chapter 3, verses 3 through 7. Lack of faith, Sirach chapter 2, verses 10 through 14. And Numbers 14, 1 through 4. Fearful and unbelieving, Revelations 21 and 8. And Hebrews 11, chapter 11, verse 6. So those things I mean that's part of the leaven, you know. That's something that we have to get out. That fearful, unbelieving, complaining. So even now, I mean, you know, again, if you're not going to be grateful, I mean, I don't know your situation. I know, you know, everyone has different things going on, but I can only, well, let me just speak to myself. So when I graduated college, I went to law school. Okay. So I went to law school, finished law school, and I graduated right during the '08 crash. Okay. Now, during the '08 crash, you know, you couldn't find a job. I mean, it was just a terrible time to graduate. So, you know, I had some odd jobs, you know, this and that, and then, you know, worked at a law firm for a couple years or for a couple months, and then, you know, got laid off, or, you know, just it was just nothing consistent. Okay. So, you know, but the thing is, I had food on the table. I had enough for to pay the rent. I had, you know, enough to pay my bills sometimes, you know, not all the time, but I was good. But I definitely had a spirit of ungratefulness. That is definitely something that the Lord, you know, worked on me. And it wasn't until one of my friends who was in the truth, they left the church, but another couple left the church after they came into the truth. You know, he started working at Pizza Hut. And he was like, "Hey, man, you know, it's something. It's not, you know, the best, and you know, this and that." So I was like, "Shoot, man, I do not. I mean, that's the whole point of going to college, right? Like, you do not work these jobs." So, you know, I had to humble myself and go work at Pizza Hut. So the first day, you know, like my manager, like I'm like, I think at the time I'm 28 or 29. My manager is like 18. So it's, I mean, it's kind of funny. So like after the first day, you know, after the first day, my wife, you know, I come home, my wife, I'm smelling like pizza. My wife's like, "So how was it?" And you know, I was like, "Man, you know what? I had fun. It was fun. I'm not gonna lie. I have a lot of great stories, crazy stories about Pizza Hut. But the thing was, you know, while I was there, I was like, well, let me just do the best job I can. You know, let me just, you know. So, you know, I mean, I took all the bad routes. You know, I stayed late, washed the dishes. You know, people wanted to go home. I told them I'll take their, you guys can go ahead and go. You know, I made sure the kitchen was, my section of the kitchen was clean. And then from there, it's just like, you know, the spirit of ungratefulness just started to be removed. Because, you know, it's like, well, you know, I do have food. I go home with pizza every night, and you know, these tips, they aren't everything, but they pay the bills. Like my budget was X, and I received exactly X at the end of the month. So you know, and so I was working there, and then you know, someone else told me about, oh, hey, there's this restaurant at, you know, Texas of Brazil, and I was like, oh, Lord, what am I getting out of this? So you know, again, not ungratefulness, like not asking as in the spirit of ungratefulness, but asking as like, you know, is it time, you know, for me? So again, I'm still applying for jobs, and I think at that point I almost just gave up. So I just went to Texas. I went to Texas of Brazil, and I was working, and you know, I think I was there for like another 4 or 5 months, almost 6 months, and you know, it was cool. You know, I mean, you know, it is what it is. I waited tables before, so that whole experience of waiting tables was not, you know, it was not a bad thing. But again, you go into college and then you graduate law school, and you're like, what the hell? Like, why am I still here? But again, did not have that spirit of ungratefulness. Just had the spirit of, you know what? Let me go to this precept real quick. This is the verse that just kept coming to my head. One second. How shall he? This is the one. If he's not able to, well, this is the one. If he is not faithful over a little, How shall you? Okay, yeah. This is the one. I can't remember it. I'll try to remember real quick. This is the one that it says, if he's not faithful over someone else's, if he's not a good steward over someone else's, how shall he be faithful over his own, or something like that? So, if you guys can pull that precept, that'd be great. But yeah, that was the scripture that just kept coming to my head. And then, so one day I'm just sitting there working. I'm talking to the bartender. I've been there for like 4 or 5 months, and then all of a sudden I get an email on my phone saying, "Hey, we got a position open. It starts in 2 weeks. We want to know if you're interested." And sometimes, those are like, I thought sometimes in my experience, those were scams. Like, you'll send them your resume. Okay, we got brother up here. May have that precept.
Yeah, Con, that precept you're looking for is Matthew 25 and 21.
That is it. Thank you. Do you have it with you?
Con, I can read it for you real quick. You want me to?
Please. Yes, it.
Con, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 25 and verse 21. His Lord said unto him, Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord.
That's it, man. All praises. So that was the one. It's like, you got to do a bit. Just do a good job where you're at. And that was the scripture that just kept coming to my head. So I got the email, and sometimes those recruiters are scams because they just want to get a feeler of how many candidates are out there, and then you know so I replied. I said, "Yeah, sure, I'm available." I mean, I kind of like brushed it off, and then he replied, was like, "Okay, great. Send your resume and we'll get you started." And so from there, I mean, it was just the Lord moving. I mean, I was just one position to another position to another position. The ups and downs throughout the way, but I mean, definitely, it's definitely better than where I was, and I definitely that spirit of ungratefulness has been removed. So when I see someone who's like ungrateful, it just really just irks me, because I'm like, you have food and clothes, where they're in, be content. That is, that's another precept. So just like the children of Israel were complaining, but you had manna, you had clothes, why are you complaining? But the thing was, they were still had their heart set on Babylon. So this is 1 Timothy 6:8. Well, start at verse 6 and 7. For we brought nothing into the world, so we cannot carry anything out. But if we have food and clothes, wherewithal be in content, where we will be content with these. Excuse me, Salakia. So, during Jacob's trouble, if you got food and clothes, and no one's, you don't see, bullets are not flying, whizzing through your head, by your head, be content. Because there are a lot of people who are not in this truth. There are a lot of Gentiles, a lot of people who are not going to know what the hell's going on. But you will know what's going on, and you will have your bare necessities, food and clothes. So, yeah, that spirit of ungratefulness. I mean, it irks me because, especially in this country, and that's the thing. Like, in this country, like, it's we have access to relatively clean running water. While we're wasting gallons just waiting for the shower to get hot. We're spending 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes in the shower thinking about our day. you know not to say that we should feel guilty about it, but the thing is, that's more so why you should have a spirit of gratefulness and thankfulness. Okay. So
Yeah,
Well, I had a
go
precept.
ahead.
yeah, I got one.
Okay. Let me bring this out just real quick.
Go ahead.
Just to let me back off your point. Philippians 4:11. Not that I, not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. So, you know, we're supposed to be content in the Lord. So I just wanted to bring that out just real quick, just to let me back off your point.
Con, and that's a good one. Go ahead.
Con, and just land me backing off that, because it's going to be a time like, you know, at never before, as pursuant to Daniel 12:1. But it's going to be when that great multitude. We're going to be in that time where we're outnumbered. So this is Psalms chapter 37 and 14. It says, "The wicked have drawn out their sword and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy, and to slay such as be of upright conversation." Verse 15, "Their swords shall enter into their own heart, and their bows shall be broken." Right? And then that very next verse is hitting on exactly what you're saying right now, Leo, is that we got to be content with what we have. You know what I'm saying? Because we see all the Edomites out there, they getting prepared. They got they ARs, they got all of the weapons they need, they got their bunkers, they all stocked up. And our people is nickel dominant. The ones that are righteous, they are spending their little pennies to get bug out bags to prepare. You know what I'm saying? It's like squirrels preparing, and squirrels preparing in the spring. Preparing in the season for the winter that's coming. Stocking up our little nuts and the acorns. Right. This is 16. It says, "A little that a righteous man hath is better than the riches of many wicked." So we may not have every single thing that these Edomites have, these bunkers, but we're not going to need those things in that time. Because Most High, just be content with what the Most High has given you. And I yield on that.
Con, all praises. And that one that Brother Mike brought out, like the key word is I learned to be content. You know, people by nature are not, content. I mean, it's just, especially in this Babylonian system, we keep getting bombarded with more and more and, the lust of the eyes and the lust of the flesh. But, the Lord, like through that experience, I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything else in the world. It was a very humbling experience, but I learned to be content. So, and, it's just, pray that, people are, learning that now on their own. You don't have to go through, some experience for you have to learn it, but, just do it voluntarily and, it'd be less painful. But so before we move on to water storage, is there any questions you guys have on the different types of mindsets that we discussed? Okay. Moving on to water storage. Okay, now I touched on this a few times in different classes, but I just wanted to give its own dedicated section because water is very important. So with water storage, well, let's start with So with water storage, you have a few options. You have we talked about this before. You have the water bricks. So if you go to Amazon, just type in water bricks or 5-gallon water bricks or 10-gallon, whatever. You can stack those, turn them different ways and you can stack them. You can, that type of plastic is that hard plastic that is durable. So you don't have to worry about the plastic melting or whatever if it gets too hot. So water bricks are a good option. Another one, I'll just type in water bricks. Another one is the water drums. Those are your 55 gallons. Now, here's the thing. If you live in an apartment and, you're thinking like, there's no way I can store a 55-gallon water drum in my apartment. Well, with the water bricks, you can get a couple of those and stack them. You can put them under your bed. You can kind of stack them up along your closet if you can, under your couch if there's room. So, there's a few ways you can manipulate the space with those water bricks because they're stackable and they kind of interlock. So again, do the best you can with what you have and what the Most High will, blesses you with, and He will add to you as you need it, and as the time He sees fit. And so that's the one thing with the scripture that in Matthew is, well done, you have been good and faithful over a little things. So here's the thing, like, why would the Most High bless you with a bunker if you don't know how to operate or you don't want to take care of your apartment? So and just I'm again speaking for me, In my experience, the Most High did not bless me with more until until I was grateful for what He's already given me, until I showed a proper stewardship for what He has given me, and I maximized whatever He has given me. I used it to its full potential and capacity, whatever it was. Then that's when the Most High said, okay, now, you get this. Or now you're in this stage. And then I was there until I repeated the same steps. So gratefulness, wise steward, and I'm maximizing every inch or using this, whatever He gave me to its optimal capacity. Didn't do it all the time. I'm not going to lie. I was, wasn't perfect. But the goal was to, like, when I looked around or said, well, when's, what's next, or why can't I, well, look, you got to be, am I grateful for where I am now? Have I maximized it, and have I been a proper steward? So just another one example, like King David was not king over the nation of Israel before he was, king of the sheep he was in charge of. Okay. You show a proper stewardship for the sheep, you know, just using that as an example. He was a shepherd before he was king. So, but so what? So be creative with the space you have. Now another, water drums. Those things are kind of big. They're 55 gallons. So if you have a house, you can put them in the backyard. You can put them in the garage. You can stack them. So those are just different options. Now in your house, I said this earlier, and I'll say it again because we have new people joining. So in your house or in your apartment, your water heater has about 50 gallons, depending on the size of the water heater. So I would say between 30 and 50 gallons of water stored, and it has a little spout at the bottom of it. So if you're ever in a situation where you don't have water, you can use that. You can, get that water out. I would filter it, of course, because if your city has hard water, the sediments are going to settle at the bottom. So when you're, getting that water out, you're probably going to get a bunch of sediment. So filter it, of course. Well, filter every water you get during this time. And we're talking about Jacob's trouble. So you can filter that water out, and then you can boil it, and it's drinkable. But I would test it first, go slow, because again, you don't know how long your water heater has been. You don't know the condition. You don't know if something slipped in. So always purify water from an unknown source. Okay. So, and that's in almost every house or apartment. So again, if we're walking down the street and, we're thirsty, then, that is one way that we know, hey, these water heaters, these water heaters have water stored in them. Okay. So, your water bricks, your water drums, those are ways to store water. Now, ways to source water, again, so again, this situation is assuming we're at home for an extended period of time. So you can create rain buckets. You can get a 5-gallon bucket, create a rain bucket, collect rain. That's one way. Or, if you have your 55 gallons, you can store it. So you have, your rain buckets, or you can create a rain catchment system. So if you live in an area that it rains a lot, the little drainage that, goes down to the street, you can get one of those, or you can buy those on, Home Depot or Amazon, or you can take the gutter, and reconfigure it to where it goes into a 55-gallon drum or a storage tank like that. So that's one way to store it. Now, you want to type this in Amazon. This is called a water. Let me see. I looked it up last night, and it's called a water. Come up. Okay, look up water socket key. Socket key, like car keys. Type that in, and you're going to see a bunch of keys on here. You want to get the one that is a 4-way silicock key. Okay, 4-way silicock key. Now, what is that? Now, when you're walking down the street, or I'm not walking down the street, or if you're driving around and you see like the place where it looks like there's a, like a water faucet, but it doesn't have the spout. It just has like a little, like a metal square. Those silica keys, you can. This is a four-way one, so it's four different types of keys, or you can take that silica key and use it to turn on the water for those buildings. Okay, so I'm looking at one. This is a two-pack, four-way Silcock, SILL cock key. It's $12.99. I bought one. I put one in my bug out bag, and I put one in my wife's bug out bag, and so that's another option for you to get water if you have to leave your house, and these buildings have hundreds of gallons of water stored because of for the fire hydrant, for the sprinkler systems. So they have hundreds of gallons stored. Okay, so those silica keys should be able to open most of those water spouts in the city or through businesses. So I would add that to the bug out bag. It's light. It's a good way to source water. Now, a brother asked me about a canteen. Those are good. Those are good. Those are good options, but again, they're heavy once you start, filling it up. So if you're going to take it, know that in advance that you're going to have some pretty significant weight. If you fill that up, I think it's 1 quart of water. So again, that's just more weight you have to have. But I bought these like little plastic bags that roll up. They have a spout, and you just roll them up in your bag. So type in water plastic. Type in water plastic Slovakia camping. Okay. It's like a little water plastic bag that you can roll up. There we go. There you go. Okay. It is called a collapsible emergency water jug. Okay. Collapsible. That's the key word. Collapsible. So it's just a plastic bag that's shaped like a water bag, or shaped like a canteen. So you can get a couple of those, and when you're out, you could fill it up. And when you're done with the water, you can roll it back up and put it in your bag. So it saves space and it saves weight versus having a canteen that's metal and it takes up a lot of space. So just look up collapsible canteens. Okay, they're plastic, they're food grade, so you don't have to worry about the plastic degrading or becoming cancerous or whatever. So those are good options. So that goes with your food storage. I mean, not food storage, excuse me, water storage. Now, filtration and purification. There's a lot of methods out there, so I'm gonna go over just a few of them. Of course, number one is boiling. You can boil the water. That kills off most of the microbes. But before you boil it, you probably want to filter it. So, I bought a bunch of coffee filters that you can use as a filtration, or you can use, whatever you have to filter it. You can use a cloth, you can use a bandana. Those things are filter out, some of the sediments and that, some of the solids. Then you want to bring it to a boiling point. Okay. Now after that, another technique, I've never heard of this technique. I've heard of it just recently, and I haven't tried it. So if some of you guys have tried it, maybe it may be a good option. It is called solar disinfection. Okay. The way this works is you fill up a bottle of water and you leave it in the sun, and the sun will burn off or kill a lot of the microbes and poisonous, or not poisonous, like the microbes that'll get you sick. Okay. That technique, I've never tried it. I don't know how they said 8 to 10 hours of sun, so that's a long time of you just having a bottle of water there. if you're thirsty. So again, I would use boiling as the first option. Another option, if you want to buy this, is called a Sterapin. So you can just go to Amazon, type in Sterapin, and Sterapin gives like the UV lights. We have a brother coming up. I can invite you up. You have we have the Sterapin. So the Sterapin is a UV light. Again, it's $64. I'm not saying you have to buy this. You're not going to get clean water, and the Lord's not going to. I'm not saying all that. And the reason why I'm going to some of this stuff, like you see, some of the options are just different options. So the thing is, if you were to see a Sterapin while you were out there during Jacob's trouble, you at least have some some knowledge about it and know what it does versus just seeing it and not knowing anything. So Sterapin, it uses UV lights to purify the water, and it comes with a 40 micron pre-filter. So that UV light is also another good option for purification. Brother Jeremy, something you wanted to add on this topic?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a product. So there's a product that you can purchase on Amazon that does the same thing in water filtration. In events that you find like a body of water, and it's like emergency. You don't have time for the boil and all that stuff. It's called a life straw.
Mm-hmm.
So
Con,
I just wanted to put that out there whilst we on the topic. But you could
con,
drop me back down. I just wanted to add that.
con. Thank you, thank you.
Um,
Oh, I'm sorry, I was on mute. My bad. I'm sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, Jeremy, for that. The life straw, yeah, those are very good options. The price of those have went down, so you can get those. They were $17, but now they are $13. So they comes in packs of 1, 2, and 5. So I would definitely add those to your bug out bag. They're light. I added a couple, so just good options to have. The next one would be a micro porous filter. Micro porous filter. Those things are kind of expensive, but the thing is, I wanted to show you those so you could see how they work. You know, so you could see them and research them ahead of time. So if you ever saw one, you could just instantly know what to do with it. So part of these options is just not to say, oh yeah, I can't afford that. Then you start freaking out and getting scared. That's not it. It's more so to just give you options so you can see how stuff works. Okay. So now with chemical filtration, this is where things get a little bit you know you got to do your research. You can get iodine tablets or iodine drops. You can disinfect some water with bleach. Again, there's a certain bleach to water ratio you want to use. So do your research on that, but those are just another options. The last option is distillation. So you're boiling the water. You typically see this with ocean water. So you boil the water, and then it becomes a gas, and then it goes into another container, and cools down, and you're getting clear water. So distilling, yes, that's one of the ways we make alcohol or the essential oils. But doing that with salt water, that's another option. But again, you need to make sure that you can boil the water, the salt water, and you have a place to put the fresh water. So now with water sources, if you had your choice between a running river and a pond, choose a running river, because a lot of the bacteria and things will not be as prevalent among a running river. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you have no choice but to use a pond, but make sure you filter it and you boil it, and you get all that out, because that is one thing you do not want to deal with, is getting sick because you drunk some bad water. And so also trees and vines are good options to source water, but you have to do your research on trees and vines. So those are very good options to get a good source of water. So we discussed rain, so you want to make sure you have a rain catchment system. Now this one is a interesting one. This is a dehumidifier. So if you live in a very humid place and you have a dehumidifier in your house, or you used one before, you would see that it's in that tray is collecting water. But again, you need power to power the dehumidifier and things like that. One option, if you have if you're in a house, I forgot this one about water storage, a water bob. Just go to Amazon and type in water bob, and that little plastic, well, it's not little, but that plastic bag would fill up to the contour of your tub. And that water bob will give you about 100 gallons. Some people say 65 to 100 gallons of water from your tap. So the reason why I would prefer the water bob over you just filling up your bathtub is because the water bob, the water's, it's stored. It's not going to get dust and things in it. It's there. Versus 65 gallons, or you fill up your bathtub with water, bugs are going to fly in. Just a lot of things that could happen. But again, if you don't get a water bob, it's not the end of the world. Just fill up your bathtub, and that's going to give you some additional water. Okay. So with that, now, yeah, again, I'm just looking up collapsible water containers. There's hundreds of them. So if you couldn't get a water brick, or you didn't have the space for water bricks, you got the collapsible 5-gallon jugs. If you're at home, because one thing about when this really goes down, we don't know where we're going to be at and when it's going to happen. So I said, I gave this in a past lesson. You want to make sure, if you're home and it's time, the first thing you want to do is fill up your bathtub. Because while everyone else is like, "Oh, what's going on?" You're being proactive in securing as much water as you can, because you don't know when you have to leave your house. Okay, so filling up your bathtub would be a first option if you don't already have the water drums or the water bricks or whatever. So these 5-gallon collapsible water containers are just good options to have. Okay. So with that, that finishes this lesson of Jacob's trouble. We did the dangerous mindset to have, well, not to have. We shouldn't have these mindsets, and the water storage, purification, and filtration. Now, with those, I did, just kind of give a little 1 or 2 sentence blurbs. But this is why you have to do your own research to, figure out what's the best option for you and your family. What do you want to spend money on? What you want to afford? What can you afford? Or what should you learn? Which I suggest we all learn how to get water from trees, how to filter and purify water. So, but yeah, with that, I don't have anything else. If King Ben or Mike, anything you want to add, we can take questions at this time.
Nah, I don't have anything. Powerful lesson, man. Definitely very informative, especially where that mindset is going to be a very pivotal part. I think earlier today we was talking about in the I was thinking it was the kosher breakfast room, brother Yawasop and brother Gabar. We was talking about just fasting and the mindset. They was bringing it out, so it's definitely prevalent. What we what you was just bringing out as well. That mindset plays an important role because if you're not in the proper mindset, you can't. None of these things are gonna be any good in that time. It's just like you'll be just like the Edomites. The Edomites have all these things, these items, and it's not going to serve them any good in that time. You know, it's actually a precept on that. I can't find it at the moment, but it's basically relating to they will get all these things and they will not be able to use them. So you know, yeah, the mindset is important. Fasting, praying, constantly praying without ceasing, and just preparing. That's the way you're able to have a clear mind to be able to prepare with these type of things. Water filtration and things like that. You won't be engaging in if worrying about if in those times if Wendy's is still open, if Chick-fil-A is still open, when are they going to open up? You would have the food and supplies that you need, and you would be waiting for the Most High to send you direction on what you should do. So definitely.
No, all praises. Yeah. So, I mean, with that, I mean, yeah, we just have to, we have a lot of breaking news, a lot of breaking news. If you guys were in the news class, I mean, the news room this morning, we talked about how Iran was going to respond about the attack that happened on Saturday to their centrifuges. I said about a week or a couple of days. Yeah, Israel's troops got attacked in Iraq today, like killed. And Iran, everyone's blaming Iran, and Iran has not said no, it is not us. And they attacked a ship, today. So again, you have a lot of things happening on the world stage. You have the U.S. Trying to have their nose in everyone's business, and they're not going to be able to deal with Iran and Israel, Ukraine and Russia, and China and Taiwan. They're just not. So at any moment, one of those dominoes could fall, and you know the U.S. has already reported that they're sending 2 warships to the Black Sea, which will be suicide because I mean, there's only if you're on Turkey's side going into the Black Sea, there's only one way in and one way out, and then the other way in and out is through Russia. So I don't know what they're thinking, but again, the Most High said the pride of their heart has deceived them. So when as we see what's unfolding, when it goes down, like Brother Ben said, we're not going to be running around with our like chickens with our heads cut off. We're going to know what time it is and what that means when those dominoes start to fall. What does that mean for us here in America? So yeah. So with that, there's no more questions about Mike. Something you want to add, or King Ben?
Yeah, I just got one quick precept, and the brothers have brought this out earlier, and this is Salakia. This is Isaiah 19 and 2, and it says, "And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, kingdom against kingdom." And brothers have brought this out earlier in the coach. I think it was the kosher breakfast room. I believe it was one of them rooms, and the brothers was talking about just how the Edomites are against each other in our nation. They're fighting against one another, but that's just a microcosm of the world as well, because all these nations is one against the other. You, as you see, Taiwan, about to go to war with China. You got South Korea been going at it with China for the longest time. These are all their same people. You got Ukraine against Russia, and the U.S. is up there. The U.S. can't even let their yay be yay or their nays be nay, because these nations are like, listen, U.S., if you want to get involved, let's get involved. But the U.S. is like, they trying to be real slick with their words, saying that they're going to protect their allies, but they're not saying that they want to get into it. You know what I'm saying? They're not letting it. They're not making it. Plain upon table. They're very slick with their words. As being that so-called, that trying to come off as the lamb, but really being the dragon. So, all these nations are being stirred up one against one another. And, this is what's leading up to that time. So these classes are very important because we're getting right there. For anybody thinking that the Most High is asleep at the wheel, they're dead wrong. You know what I'm saying? This is stirring up. We got somebody want to come up.
Sure. And as we bring her up, I want to bring out this precept, and this is
Con,
this is one
con.
of the reasons why I, kind of really for our people to like get prepared and get your house in order, and why this again the food storage, all that stuff is not going to save us. It's just going to give us an initial, ahead of everyone else who doesn't know what's going on. So this is Isaiah chapter 26, verse 20. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation be overpast. For behold, the Lord comes out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth shall disclose her blood and shall no more cover her slain. So again, like, yeah, it's definitely. I mean, the hour is late. Like it's going to take just one little hair trigger for this thing to go off. The U.S. does not have an answer for Russia. It just doesn't. There is no answer for Russia. Just a couple of quick facts. The United States has 4 time zones. I mean, 5. I'm not sure if you count Hawaii, but the U.S. has 4 time zones. Russia has 11. 11 time zones in the country of Russia. It's just, I mean, they have their own gold. They have their own gold mines. They have their own silver mines. They produce their own oil. Their military, the Satan II is the faster, the Satan II is one of their fastest missiles, and that's old technology. And so is them going into the Black Sea, sending 2 warships is going to do nothing but piss off Russia. So yeah, the hour is late for our people. Sister Shiva, something you want to add?
Hello everyone. I just wanted to know, I don't know if this is inappropriate or not, but I was looking at Matthew 24 and 16 through 19, where it talks about it's like the abomination of desolation. And I know it said something about them that be in Judea fleeing into the mountains. Would you brothers mind kind of breaking that down just so that I can have an understanding for me and my family?
Sure.
Well,
Oh,
listen, yeah,
you want to?
yeah. Well, we have other rooms for that, sister, and we would love for you to get a full breakdown of that. But this is just, we dealing with Jacob's trouble right now, and that's dealing with the destruction of our temple. But I would love for you to get a full breakdown of that, and we have other platforms for that. We have kosher breakfast in the morning. We have God First Gang, where brothers will give you like a full breakdown of that. But we want to stay kind of on line of what this lesson is about right now in dealing with that. So if you want to you can follow the platform of myself and brother Leo, and we'll ping you into a room where you can and first let me ask first, sister, are you married?
Yes, I am.
Okay. What we do is we deal decently in order. Is your husband on Clubhouse?
Not at all.
Okay, because we need for our sisters to get permission from their husband before we're able to, teach them on this platform and give them, breakdowns as well. So I don't know if your brothers, your husband's in the truth or not, but we would like need you to get permission from him and, get that okay, and then we can, follow through and get you that breakdown that you would need. But we deal like decently and in order on this platform.
Respectfully understood. Yeah, I have had the conversation with my husband.
Hmm.
And he's okay with me
Okay.
receiving this information.
Okay.
But he's not in the truth.
Okay.
So
Okay. Well, definitely you could follow myself and brother Leo. We are connected with all these platforms. This one is really more for giving out information as far as like Jacob's trouble, preparedness for that time, and we deal with the news and other things like that, other topics. But for like a full breakdown on that, we would want to get you over to our other platforms, which we have God First Gang. We also got Crown of Thorns. So if you could follow myself, follow Brother Leo, and we'll follow you back, and we can get you over to any one of those and get you all that information. But we try to stay on the lesson in dealing with this one, okay, sis?
absolutely, I apologize. When you say Jacob's trouble, I've never really received a full breakdown of what that was. So I think I was kind of assuming that that tied into that. So I do appreciate you brothers giving me that correction and understanding. So I definitely follow both of you and thank you brothers respectfully.
Right, sis, and it was no problem that because Jacob's trouble is kind of connected to that, but we would rather you get like a full breakdown, and we just ain't want to take away from the whole lesson. So we want to make sure you definitely get that, and just we'll ping you into a room so you can get that full understanding. Okay, sis.
Absolutely. Thank you all. I appreciate you.
All praise Most High. Hey, Mike, you had
All
a
praise.
closing precept?
Yeah, Con, I did have a precept. It's a spirit that y'all both went to Isaiah, because I had a precept in Isaiah chapter 13, and I'll start at verse 13. Therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, and in that day of his fierce anger, and it shall be as a chase roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people and flee. Already happening. We did cover this morning about like that protest that happened in California with like white white lives matter. So we did talk about that earlier. Everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. So just another characteristic of a person that's gonna fall enemies. So I just wanted to bring that out at the end.
All right, we about to wrap up. Brother Melvin, you got a question about?
Yeah, yeah, Shalom, my brothers. I came in the middle of it, but I wanted to ask quick, uh,
Yeah.
just to have, if you didn't have the heating source.
Um, but I think propane is better. If you
Okay.
can get propane, I would get that. So very little carbon monoxide.
Hmm.
You could put a carbon monoxide detector to it for a couple of hours and it still won't go off. So
Okay.
they burn pretty clean, and you don't have to worry about it spilling or anything and things like that. So
All right. Appreciate it, bro.
no problem. So is there any more questions or comments or Bible verses? Um,
Salakia, yeah, I wanted to bring out a precept and then just a little bit of information about a book. But I'll start it off with the precept first. So this is Psalms chapter 18 and verse 2. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God, my strength, in whom I trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation, and my high tower. So I brought that out just to say that, we sit here, we prepare for these things because the Most High charges us to, be not ignorant in any manner, great or small. But at the end of the day, our faith needs to be in Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai always, before anything, you know what I mean? But it's good, and I appreciate this platform that's bringing out knowledgeable information about, things that are more than likely to go down in that time. And like the brothers was bringing out, we getting close. But there's a book that I had in my library for a minute now, and it's very, very informative. And I think a lot of people will get a lot of information out of it. And it's called SAS Survival Handbook, and it's a book with an ex Special Forces. I wouldn't call it Special Forces because this guy is in the British military, and it's all about what the brothers brought out earlier: mindset, and just different things that you could do, techniques, different things you could do with limited resources. So I just wanted to bring that book out. And again, before I leave, the name of the book is SAS Survival Handbook. So you could find that on Amazon or anywhere you would purchase books, but preferably Amazon would probably be your most efficient source to get that information and get that book. I yield.
All praise to the Most High. Yeah, definitely need to check into that book. All praises, King.
Con.
Come.
Brother Jake.
Brother Jake.
Did Melvin go?
Yeah, he went.
Oh, okay. I'll just make this quick. I'll be quick. It gets on my spirit every time just to tell people, get active. I do 25 minutes a day of just pure, high intensity training in between my lunch. I don't, and then I just eat my lunch at my computer desk because I work from home right now. Um, don't make an excuse that you don't have the time or you don't feel like doing it today, or I can do it tomorrow, because your brain will get accustomed to that. Your brain loves comfort, right? Your flesh loves to be comfortable. It loves pillows, blankets, AC during the summer, heat during the winter time. And you have become, because you're an American, you have become accustomed to that lifestyle. And that lifestyle is dangerous. It's a dangerous lifestyle. What the brothers have been saying today for an hour, I mean, it's just excellent. I couldn't say it better myself. I really honestly couldn't. I don't have the words like they do. They're very eloquent, very knowledgeable, and they're excellent teachers. Um, get your ass up and do something. Get up and go outside for a walk. And then in a week, make that walk a jog, you know. And then in a couple of weeks of jogging, start running. Because if y'all got some kids, y'all kids are going to depend on you. You don't know what it's like to, you know, we mock and say, make not your flight be in winter. Y'all never felt cold like that where y'all would never get relief. Y'all, there's no warming happening. There's no heater. There's not enough blankets for you. You don't feel your feet, you know, and your fire going out, and you just don't have the mental capacity. You're dealing with stress. Your baby might have a fever because it has an infection, and you don't know how to deal with that. And you might have a mental breakdown, and you're the father, you're the head, you're the man. And you did all this praying and you did all this, that, and the third, but you did not really prep for this. Don't make it seem like, oh, well, the Most High is going to provide for everybody and quail's going to fall out of the sky. Don't tempt the Lord your God like that. Have faith in him, of course. You always have to have faith in the Most High. But you show your faith by your works. So get your ass up and start working out. Cut out some of the things that you have in your diet. Cut it out. Limit yourself. Put some standards on your body so your body can perform in that day instead of, being weeded out from the survival of the fittest. And one more thing, I don't know if y'all said this because Leonardo was correct. Hollywood does not cut um, what that day or what survival tactics might look like, but I think a really good example, visual example, is the movie The Road. I don't know if y'all brought that up, but
Con.
um, that movie is very specific, a very specific aspect of Jacob's Trouble, whereas you're a pilgrim and you rarely see a human being, and the psychological toll of a man trying to take care of his child and the different circumstances that they come across. I think y'all should watch that movie just to see an aspect, to be able to use your imagination and exercise it and see an aspect of what life might be like in that day, so you can make it real for you. And I'm done.
No, Con. I actually heard about that movie. The Road. Is it where is it available?
I think it's available on Amazon. You might have to pay to rent it. I rip the bootleg. I'm that guy. I rip bootlegs off the internet. But I think it's worth the money to rent it and watch it
Con.
and
Con.
watch it with your rib so that y'all can have at least in your brain an aspect of what it looks like to be in a very desperate situation like that. Especially the aspect of how people will be treating each other in that day. Because yeah, y'all might have not, y'all don't know hunger. You don't. You're an American. You don't know what being so hungry that you looking at your child and you staring at your child. You've never been like that before. You've never been so cold to where you're like, you know what, if I go to sleep and I don't wake up, I'm cool with that. But then you have to think, well, fuck, what if my child is still alive and I die? Like you don't really know, like, oh my God, my kid has a fever and I don't know how to stop this fever and he's just getting warm and he's coughing and then one of your kids die. And how do you go on? What if your wife has a psychological breakdown from that, right? On top of y'all out of shape. So try to work to try to like take away some of the aspect. Like, you thinking, oh, I'm gonna buy all these things for my pack, but you never carried your fucking pack. You don't know how to distribute the weight in your pack. You don't know some of the things like, okay, my pack is too heavy. I gotta get food for the kids, but where the medicine gonna go? I'm just stuffing it on. No, you don't know. I'm beating a dead horse, but get up, get yourself a schedule where maybe you and your rib can go outside for 30 minutes a day, 45 minutes a day instead of watching a TV show. You go outside and temper your body like a smith would temper steel, in the and he bangs on that steel to make it strong, and he folds it, heats it up, folds it, and then bangs on it again to make it stronger. You have to do that to your body because it was built and designed to do that. And I yield.
Con.
Con, con.
All
Oh,
praise.
praise.
Yeah, I would highly recommend. If you can't, if you don't, if you can't get a free copy, I would highly recommend getting that movie. It's a really good movie. If you read the book is better. But the movie is just as good. So I mean, just for what brother Jake was saying about it, for the purpose of watching the movie, I would just watch it. So, and there's a few movies like that. Some of them they're just a little bit too Hollywoodish, and I'm like, this is not even close to reality. But again, Hollywood's trying to sell tickets. They're not trying to give out training manuals. So yeah, I'll create a list of some really good movies that I've seen, and The Road is definitely number one. That's real as it gets. But yeah, I don't have anything else for tonight. Mike, King Ben, if he has anything else.
All I was gonna say is the Book of Eli. That's another good one too.
Yeah, yeah, but The Road is a little bit too. It's a little bit realer than that. It's real. Yeah.
I gotta check it out. I gotta check.
Yeah. There's no putting your backpack on the ground and slashing 15 dudes. That ain't. Yeah, nah. The Road is. It's yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, yeah, it's real, man. But I don't have
Con.
anything else tonight. King Ben, you want to close us out?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely this if you miss anybody that missed any of the lesson, you could definitely go to my YouTube in my bio, and you'll be able to catch it on there, as well as the other episodes. It's a playlist for you to catch up. These are very important at this time, and we're preparing for a time like never before, as the Bible says. So yeah, you can definitely should stay tuned, because we got more. Brother Leo, I told him, hey, keep bringing them out as until we get into Jake, till it's fully, till they take us off. As we know, these things are going to be shut down. As Brother Jake said, grab your kids off the video game, get yourself from in front of the TV or the PC, whatever you're doing, and go outside and prepare yourself. This is the time to do it, because we're getting closer every single day. If you're not paying attention, Brother Wesley, you got something before we go?
Con, I was just wondering, what was the movie name again?
The road.
It's the
Oh,
road. The main character is, I forgot
Rogue
his
or
name.
Road?
Road, ROAD, like you're on a road
Okay,
to
okay, okay,
Damascus.
okay.
So, but the main character is the dude from Lord of the Rings.
Got you.
So,
The
yeah.
water. The water.
All praises, King. Yeah. So with that said, make sure you follow the moderators. Please follow the brothers on stage. Also follow that brother Jake. Brother Jake is one of the dopest dudes around. He's very versed in every single thing, and he actually, what he speaks, he lives. He works out. He works out while he's on this platform, busting out precepts. So while he's breaking a lot of these brothers down, these bug outs, he's actually working out a lot of the time. And he has the clubs Shalom and Chill, which you know, he keeps Israel. After we deal with a lot of crazies on Clubhouse, we get to go there amongst our own people and just be amongst one another. Zephaniah 2:1. All gathered ourselves together. Hey Jake, are you opening a room tonight, or
I can open
possibly
a room right after this. No problem. If y'all wanna.
con?
Oh, actually, hold on. I think the room is still open. I don't need to open another one. I think it's still open.
It's
Give me
still
one
open.
second. I'll ping y'all in there.
Okay, con. So we're gonna wrap up. Make sure you follow the moderators. Please click on it should be above my head. Thy kingdom come. We're back every morning at 10 a.m. bringing y'all the latest throughout the throughout Babylon and throughout the world, keeping y'all updated. For an hour or more. And also while we're going, you have kosher breakfast. So we're just here to give you a little update, so you continue in kosher breakfast with all of you know where Brother Showerpar keeps you fed, making Clubhouse the Lord's house. And so we come on at 10 just to give you that little update on what's going on in Babylon. And we got other things coming. We got some real good things coming down the pipe. So just stay locked in. So with that said, I think Brother Jacob's gonna be open up he's checking to see if the room is open. Y'all can head over there. And Brother Leo, Brother Mike, y'all got anything before we close out?
No, just all praises to the Father.
Con, con. All right. So with that said, we thank everybody for coming out. We want to give all praises to the Most High, and we want to say Shalom.
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 Shalom.